right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, and thank you for tuning in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Andrew Fillipponi in a matter of moments over at the 93.7 The Fan Cam, and we definitely have a lot to talk about here tonight, and we'll get it out of the way. It's our live poll question here tonight. Just scan the QR code up there, right? Do you think the Steelers should trade for a quarterback? That's tonight's question. People can vote on it right now. I don't know what the percentage is. 63% are saying no right now. Or is it a better idea to trade for a quarterback? Well, that was the big story earlier in the day. There was a report out there. Was it an erroneous report? Was it made up? We don't know that, but I was told that the Steelers never reached out to the Jaguars. Got it from a pretty good source. So did Mark Caboli. So did a ton of other people. Tom Pelissero, guys that are really tied into the Steelers, reached out to Jacksonville about Trevor Lawrence. This just doesn't make sense any way around. Any way you look at it, it just doesn't make sense, Pony. Hey, I would love if the Steelers could pull something like that off because they'd be able to get the quarterback of the future. But, you know, it feels like this day and age, you know, sometimes this time of the year especially, we're out there refuting stories instead of getting stories.
Well, let me just say this. As far as, you know, it doesn't make sense all the way around. The pursuit of a quarterback and finding your answer at quarterback is the most important thing on the Steelers' plate right now. It is priority number one, even though it's not looking like they'll draft one in the first round because there aren't good enough draft prospects in 2025. They need to find an answer. And so if Omar Khan's not calling Jacksonville, who is he calling? Because he should be working his phones. There is something called due diligence in sports as a general manager, and unless you have Ben Roethlisberger and you are happy with your position, if you're not winning championships, you should be constantly striving and looking to get better. We're living in a world where there was a hockey trade where Mikko Rantanen got traded from Colorado to Carolina, and everybody was stunned by it because he's one of the best players in the NHL. In the NBA, Anthony Davis got traded for Luka Doncic. Yeah. Huge trades are happening across sports. So when you're debating Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, if you are not inquiring or looking into other quarterbacks who might be available, then I don't think Omar Khan and the Steelers are doing a very good job. So if they didn't call Jacksonville, I'd like for them to start calling some teams who have quarterbacks who may or may not be available to find out, Richie, if they are available. And if they're not, maybe you can make them an offer that therefore makes that player available. That should be what's happening right now with the Steelers.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it'd be more realistic if you told me another name and not a name that just signed a $275 million deal, and Jacksonville would have to take a huge cap hit, right, if they traded them. Also, they don't even have a GM right now, and the coach was hired based on going all in on Trevor Lawrence.
Right. No doubt. So then who would be a realistic name for you then?
I mean, I guess right now it's not really a good market for the Steelers because all these top-end quarterbacks, it would be hard to get. You're not getting a Lamar Jackson. You're not getting a Joe Burrow off anyone. You're obviously not going to get any of the quarterbacks that were in the Super Bowl, right? Maybe a Matthew Stafford. Is that an upgrade to Russell Wilson? I think so.
Yes. Yes.
I still like let's go with the Justin Fields camp, see what you can do, see if you can work something out with him in this little short period of time, and then maybe that'll bridge the gap to your next quarterback. I don't know who else is there. I mean, do you look into Brock Purdy? I mean, give me another name that would be Aaron Rodgers. Forget about it. I don't even want that guy here. I think it's too much of a distraction.
No, I agree with that, but it'll be very awkward if they do something like that. Then we have to put our tail between our legs and try to start to imagine the ways in which it would work here. My preference would not be to go with a 41-year-old guy who thinks that the answer to his prayers is, you know, having his dead relatives, by taking ayahuasca, rub his feet and whisper in his ear about what a good quarterback he is, and going on weeks-long retreats where he has no phone and he's in darkness and everything else. So I'm with you on that.
The free agent market isn't even good, right? I mean, Justin Fields has to be the top quarterback. You would think.
He's among those out there. Look, I know Matthew Stafford is old, and we just had a negative experience with Russell Wilson. The difference for me is Stafford is still much closer to the player he was in his prime than what Russell Wilson was this year. If not for a very good, timely pass rush from Jalen Carter in the snow in Philadelphia in the divisional round, Matthew Stafford was about 15 yards away from leading the Rams back to beat the Eagles. And he was phenomenal in their playoff win against the Vikings, against a Brian Flores defense. Brian Flores is a very good defensive coordinator, as we know. So I think Stafford still got it. He's played in domes and he's played in good weather. So it would be a huge transition to a place like Pittsburgh. But if I could get him for a second or third round pick and then turn around and only pay him like $30 to $35 million a year, I would do that. And I would see where it takes me, because that would not preclude me from drafting a quarterback in 2026, Richie. If the Packers can draft Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers is still winning MVP awards, then the Steelers are allowed to draft the guy in the first round next year, even if they have a 37 or 38-year-old Matthew Stafford on their roster.
Wouldn't you rather not give up any draft capital and sign a guy like Justin Fields and then try to get your quarterback of the future the next 2 years, excuse me?
I don't think I'm winning anything with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is getting me more of the same.
You think you could win with Stafford, potentially?
Oh yeah, I think you could win a playoff game with Stafford 100%. He's won a Super Bowl in the last 5 years. He beat Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. Absolutely. I think he's that good. I think he's still a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Sam Darnold, what's going on in Minnesota?
No. Sam Darnold melted down like the Yankee candle that you guys probably have at your house in your bathroom, Richie, when he got to big games late in the year. So no, absolutely not. If the whole idea is we can't win playoff games, why would I bring in someone who's shown you an inability to function at a high level in big pressure-packed situations? So I have no interest in Sam Darnold.
I guess if you're a Steelers fan, you have to resign to the fact that you're not going to find your franchise quarterback this year. It's going to be a bridge
guy.
But
look though. I mean, the Buccaneers brought in Brady when he was in his 40s and they won a Super Bowl. And I don't think Stafford's as good as Brady. That would be insane talk. But I think he is much better. Much, much better than Russell Wilson or what Aaron Rodgers is at this point in his career. So among the potential options, that is the one that I am the most intrigued by, and that is the one I am the most interested in seeing the Steelers pursue over the next few weeks.
All right, good point. 412-575-2600 is the number. Back in a couple of minutes with your phone calls. Maybe the bigger question, Pony, is will Sidney Crosby ever win another Stanley Cup?
No, I don't think so, and I wish I could be more optimistic. I don't think he's going to get traded. I don't think he's going to chase a cup like a Ray Bourque. So I think he'll remain a Penguin for the rest of his career, and I don't see them surrounding him with good enough players to win. Now, we've seen Washington's turnaround. I didn't think in the Ovechkin era they would get back to being one of the best teams in the NHL, but here we are. And they can win the President's Trophy, and they can go on a long playoff run, that team. They're very good. Logan Thompson in net. So that is going to be a team that, Penguins are trying to emulate that and replicate that, Richie. So that really now becomes, and the Penguins have done much more winning than the Capitals. It's 3 Stanley Cups to 1. But as far as having a star player for a long time, in rebuilding around the guy, you want to copy what the Capitals have done here in 2025.
Yeah, but Hextall and maybe Dubas to even an extent have put the Penguins in a worse situation than the Capitals. All
Absolutely.
Right. Do you think it's a better idea for the Steelers to trade for a quarterback? Not really many quarterbacks out there that I would want to trade for. Maybe, like we talked about, Matthew Stafford. I know people have knocked knocked on Los Angeles' door about Justin Herbert. I don't know if that's too realistic. I think that they'd want to keep him out in L.A., right? Plus, it would take a haul to get a quarterback like that. So, I think the trade market is very low for a quarterback, and the quarterback free agents not looking good right now, in my mind. You know, that's why I would stick with Justin Fields. Let's go out to Corey and Braddock. How you doing, Corey? Corey, you there? Turn the TV down. Oh, geez. Tom out in Crafton. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, good evening, Richie, and hi, Andrew. Just to change the subject, but getting to the Pirates, unfortunately, you know, no matter what they do, it seems like they're stumbling fools. Somebody's got to be held accountable for this first base fiasco with Horwitz. And I don't know who's Sherrington. Maybe there's others in the organization that should have known what was going on here. But aside from that, it's just the fact that they don't go after, and of course I've heard the excuse that nobody wants to come and play here. Anthony, Santané signed for a moderate amount with the Blue Jays, nothing extravagant. And a couple of years ago, I know they would have fixed their first base problem if they would have went after Cody Bellinger for what?
Yeah.
What would he sign for? 12, 15 million with the Cubs or something like that. But it just on and on. It just goes on and on. Nothing changes, and as long as Nutting is signing the checks, nothing will change.
Yeah, I don't expect anything to happen, but I'm glad you brought up the Pirates. Is Toronto responsible at all for this? I mean, if this is a chronic wrist injury, did they not disclose it? Oh, yeah, that's right.
They didn't trade with Toronto.
They traded with Boston.
Cleveland.
Yeah, it was Cleveland. Sorry. Yeah, so, I mean, are one of those teams responsible at all? Do you think? Can you hold them liable?
No, I mean, think about what you just said. Toronto had to trade him to Cleveland first, so Cleveland looked at his medicals and signed off on it.
Yeah.
And then they flipped him to the Pirates. So, absolutely. I mean, if you knew he had a chronic issue, you felt apparently strongly enough about the player that it did not prevent you from getting him. And when this quickly it turns into a problem where surgery is required, you automatically start second-guessing yourself, especially if the surgery happens and he's out for longer than 8 weeks, or he comes back from the surgery and he still has wrist problems. So, you know, there's a lot of scenarios here. Most of them, I think, look bad right now for the Pirates. And look, I mean, the most discouraging thing about where we're at here is their payroll is basically the same in the same exact spot this year as it was last year. I believe last year they had an $84 million payroll. Right now it's at $83 million. And that's really hard to fathom given the fact that it's year 6 of a rebuild and you have Paul Skeens on your team. That is the part of it that as a Pirate fan, it just blows your mind that they did not look at this year as a time to open up the coffers and spend more money, to not go crazy, but spend up to $100 million and build a better team around Paul Skeens this season. And
if you're going to go out and get guys like Tommy Pham and Adam Frazier, I mean, I think as a Pirates fan, I'd rather see them go with a Nick York out in the outfield or someone like that they traded for last year that's supposed to have some Billy Cook,
Jack Sawinski,
exactly,
Henry Davis,
that could have an upside out there.
I mean, I agree. I mean, Pham, to me, you know, that ship sailed last year when they were in contention. They didn't get him at the trade deadline. And then he went to St. Louis and Kansas City. He didn't play that well. Also comes with a lot of baggage. And you're right. I mean, there's got to be better options internally, or even if you spend more money in free agency, than now making that guy at his age your everyday left fielder, because they're going to move Brian Reynolds to right field.
Yeah.
So I'm perplexed by the unwillingness on their part to circle this year as a year to go for it more than in years past. Richie, 10 years ago, they spent $100 million on players. A decade ago. Why can't they do it now when, you know, there's more revenue in the game, there's more money being made by teams than there was back then?
Yeah, but they lost their TV deal, too, or they didn't lose it. They're just not getting as much money as they did before. Let's go out to Mike in Hookstown real quick.
Yeah, why are you guys talking about these has-been quarterbacks? Here's what the Steelers should be doing.
Great. I want to hear this.
On this year's draft, and use Broderick Jones as trade bait.
For what? I mean, like, move up for who? I don't like any quarterbacks, Pony. We talked about this. Do you?
No, but, I mean, if for some reason one of those guys were to fall to 21, like Aaron Rodgers did in his draft, when he was supposed to go
like
1 or 2 with Alex Smith.
Sanders, maybe. What?
Yeah. If Cam Ward fell to 21, I'd take him, Richie.
Okay.
If either one of those guys was there at 21, I'd do it, because at that point, why the heck not? You didn't trade up for him. You didn't give up extra draft capital. So I would do that in that situation.
All right, we got to take a break. More to talk about coming up afterwards. Stay right there. Do you think the Steelers should trade for a quarterback? I think it could be a good idea. There's nothing in free agency, but I don't know what quarterbacks are you could trade for. I can't even think of a name right now that would intrigue me for what you'd have to give up. Matthew Stafford potentially, but that's it, really. You're not going to trade for Kyler Murray. You're not going to trade for Justin Herbert, right? I mean, who else is out there? I'm missing guys.
I mean, the Saints came out today and said that they're committed to Derek Carr. I guess he could potentially become available, but
Baker Mayfield.
That's not really something I'd
no.
want to do either. No, he's not going anywhere. Yeah, you're right. It's a slim pickings situation for the Steelers.
Yeah, they're going to have to go with one of the guys, and I think they will with one of the guys. I would prefer Justin Fields. I think you would feel the same way as me too, right?
Yes, from those two options, I would
Yeah.
pick Fields over Russell Wilson, Richie.
All right, thanks a lot, Pony. See you on KDKA
See you,
News
Rich.
coming up in a couple minutes.